Hello, welcome to Safra's Pop Culture Channel. Today we're going to talk about one of my favorite shows, What We Do in the Shadows. This show is now in its second season, and I will say right now, I'm not going to give huge spoilers, but there will be some spoilers just about characters and things like that, so go away if you haven't seen it yet. I've been meaning to do a video about this show for quite some time, and then now since Mark Hamill was on this week, that just sort of like, yep, we got to do this now. I've been a huge Mark Hamill fan forever. You know, I even got toys, and I'm also a horror writer, so I think it's so exciting that my two worlds collided once more. In the entertainment world, just when some of us are really bummed out about Star Wars and all that. I'm not going to talk about that today. At least Mark Hamill lives on and is still entertaining us with his wondrous talents and his quirky sense of humor. Now, also have a special connection with What We Do in the Shadows because I actually got to be on that show the first season. Some of you may know from my other videos or from my websites or whatever that I am a background performer. I do background work. And so 2 years ago, my agent sent me to a call for What We Do in the Shadows, and it was a club scene, and I got to be a vampire just like I am, and I was laughing so hard at that job because I actually got to wear my own clothes and not just like t-shirts and jeans that I usually wear as a background performer, but my goth gear. I don't remember if I wore, I don't think I had these. I have like a million corsets and stuff because I am in real life a goth, a horror writer. I've been going to goth clubs since long ago. I am immortal. So I have to tell you, I had not seen the movie What We Do in the Shadows, and to this day, I still have not seen it. I really want to, and I that's on my to-do list. Quarantine time, yes. What am I, day like 63 in quarantine? I forget. I haven't added it up lately, but yeah, we're going into the 60s now, I think, at least in our minds. But back when life was different, and I was my agent sent me to this gig for What We Do in the Shadows. And I had heard of the movie, and I always thought I would like the movie because I love comedy and I love horror. And when the two come together, I love it so much. Now, I don't want all my comedy to be horror, and I don't want all my horror to be comedy, but when that has that perfect blend, I'm in heaven. Like I have to say, during quarantine, I've been watching every season of Curb Your Enthusiasm. I'm almost finished season 8 now, and I did see most of them before as they happened in real life, real time over the last 10 years. But so that's kind of where I'm at, Seinfeld, all that stuff. I love all that stuff. I love laughing at people who are assholes. I just love it all so much. As if you could talk about Curb Your Enthusiasm, like these, Larry David's such an asshole, and it's funny as hell. Anyway, so we have that kind of quirkiness in What We Do in the Shadows as well. But when I was there as a background performer, I didn't know that because the show hadn't aired yet. Some people had heard of the movie or actually seen the movie and enjoyed it very much. But some of us were just like, okay, we're vampires in a nightclub, and I was just so happy. I was so happy, and it was a night shoot, and we were in a nightclub, and when I finally saw the episode of that, uh, it, it, there was so much cool stuff happening. As you know, I've been on like about 40 TV shows at this point, TV shows and movies as a background performer because I've been doing it a few years. Um, I think 4 years now, actually. But last year I didn't do it. I fell off the agent list, so I don't know if I could have been on the Mark Hamill episode because I wasn't on his list at that time when they filmed this. So I'm a little disappointed. But maybe I could have sat in the bleachers and been a human. I don't know. Anyways, but it was fun, so I got to wear my own clothes, and there are other people, they've never worn goth clothes in their life, and they're freaking out. But yeah, what I was gonna say is all the little touches that were in that nightclub. There was some stuff that was so amazing and funny, as in any show. If you've ever been behind the scenes of a show, there's always amazing little touches and scenes and nuances that never get into the final cut because there just isn't time for that. So, they had some interesting people doing contortionists and all these sorts of things. And it was just hysterical. If you saw the club scene in season one, you know what I mean. I don't want to give out too many spoilers because half the fun of the show is like, what the hell? But it was like a comedy dream for someone like me, and so there were and I was in so many of the scenes. Not that you actually see me. That I had a beehive. I get to hiss at the camera. You will see me hissing at the camera when they go into the nightclub. They kept that. So yay, I get and you could see me in the background at various parts if you know where to look and if you know what I look like and if you care. I know where I am. But um but there was this a couple of speeches the guys had to give. It was about the witch's hat, and again, I don't want to give too much away, but every take they did, it was different. The one guy was pretty much totally different every time, and he was so funny. I was dying, and yet we're not allowed to laugh. 'Cause you're a background performer, you're not supposed to go ah ha ha ha, 'cause you wreck the take, right? So I'm like, "Ah!" Anyone who knows me in real life knows that I laugh loud and hard when I think something's funny. So it was so much fun to be on that set, and then to see the show, and then to see Mark Hamill on the show this week was just so much fun, absolutely amazing. And I will say that one of the things I like about what we do in the shadows is how it's kind of like a reality TV show. So you have and they do it kind of like how Modern Family does it, where they'll have like times where they're talking to the camera crew, and then other times they're just living their lives, and you don't really know, they don't really acknowledge there's a crew following them around or whatever. But I do like it when they break the fourth wall and all that. I find that all hilarious. Like Modern Family's one of my favorite shows in the world too, and I'm sad that show's over. But like they do the same kind of things where you'll have kind of like the offhand stuff, and then you get into this slapstick comedy, unexpected. Like I love pratfalls and all that. I really do. The only thing I don't really find funny are fart jokes. I don't know why. I just never have my entire life. Even when I was a kid, I was never laughed at that. As an adult, I don't laugh at that. I have two sons. I never laughed at that. Everything else I think is friggin' hilarious. I laugh my ass off at so much. So we had so the things I kind of liked with the episode Mark Hamill's on uh is when we first meet him, he has the hood up, right? Oh, I don't have my toy here where he has the hood. I actually bought one of the Luke toys where he's holding the hood because I think it's hilarious that that was his big moment in The Force Awakens is the hood. And I have to tell you, just anyone who's watched my regular Sephra channel, and now I have this channel, I was completely traumatized by The Force Awakens. I am to this day, and I know we're not talking about Star Wars, but it always comes back to Star Wars. I was traumatized because when Disney bought Star Wars, they said that it was going to be the new adventures of Luke, Leia, and Han. That was their original thing because I paid attention when that happened. Because when the prequels happened, I was disappointed because I wanted to see my Luke Skywalker do some more stuff. And obviously, he's not there except for getting born. And then for 40 years, we did not see any adventures of Luke Skywalker with Mark Hamill playing Luke Skywalker in the flesh, right? I mean, yes, there's books and comics. I wanted my Mark Hamill. I wanted to see him. I was so excited because I was a Luke girl, not a Han girl. I like Han fine, but I'm a Luke girl, always was. You can see pictures of my bedroom when I'm 16. I had my little Mark Hamill corner there, along with my Roger Daltrey and a couple of other people. But Roger Daltrey was my big rock star favorite, and then Mark Hamill was the Star Wars and everything else. And I was bummed he wasn't on Eight Is Enough. He's in the pilot, then he got in that car crash and all that. Anyway, so. Um, so we see go through the Force Awakens and we never see Luke ever. And I kept waiting for him to come bursting out at some point to save the day. And then at the end, all we see him, he's in the hood, and that's it. And then it ends, and I cried for 2 years because I was so traumatized that and this is what a nerd I am, I guess. I'm one of those Star Wars nerds. I was traumatized that I had waited and waited for 40 fucking years to see Luke Skywalker, and then I still don't get to see him. Then I wait 2 more years to see what he's gonna say and see his daughter, because I was convinced that Rey was his daughter, and to this day I am still convinced Rey is his actual daughter. How they set it up in The Force Awakens, and Kylo's her cousin, and he knew. I know this is how it was supposed to be, and we know it went down the garden path. And so anyway, so when we first see Mark Hamill in What We Do in the Shadows, he has the hood. And of course, vampires have hoods and all that. And we know that's why I like Kylo Ren too, because he's like a space witch and, gothy and all that, right? So I loved that they had several little Star Wars nods in the episode, and it was friggin' fantastic. And Mark Hamill pulls down the hood. Ooh. And this is just such an amazing show. I love this show. I have a lot of horror writer friends who don't like this show, but I think they don't have a sense of humor. I don't know. Humor and horror are both very subjective. What scares one person will not scare another. What makes one person laugh will not make someone else laugh. But to go on just for another minute or so, I liked in this episode the idea of Laszlo putting the toothpick in the blue jeans. And no, you don't know who I am. And that's like such a riff on so many comedy movies, and even like little kids, you can't see me, all that, chameleons, whatever. It's all hilarious, and even at the end, when he goes to see Nadja after he hasn't seen her in a week, it was, he comes in with the toothpick. Oh, where's my husband? And he takes the toothpick out. Oh, there you are. And the toothpick in. Oh my God, he's gone again. It's just too funny. That kind of stuff makes me laugh really hard, and other people not so much. I love how they've incorporated the doll into this series now. A couple episodes back, 'cause this is season 2 now. A couple episodes back, a bunch of ghosts came by, and each of the vampires had a ghost, except for except for the I can't even say his name. Colin Robbins didn't have a ghost, but all the other vampires had ghosts. So Nadja's vampire goes into the doll. So now we have this ongoing thing with the doll. And I like they're using little bits and pieces, but I tell you that the episode before the Mark Hamill episode, I think is one of my favorite episodes ever. I was laughing out loud at that episode. I was on the floor. We're in a pandemic, everyone's depressed and crying, no one can get their shit straight, and then you turn on What We Do in the Shadows, and the boring vampire, the energy draining vampire, the day walker with his boring office job somehow gets a promotion. He reminded me kind of the George Costanza thing, where it's like, yeah, you get promoted. Here's your office. We don't know who the hell you are or what you do, but there you go. Again, it's that quirky Seinfeldian kind of stuff. And I still, to this, and I was trying to keep my mouth shut for a week till other people watched it. But even then, I haven't really said much. But when he is swimming through the hall, because he has so much energy, I was like dying. I was dying. I was dying. Oh my God. And then poor Guillermo, I can't say his name. He wants to be a vampire so bad, but he's also a Van Helsing. So it's got this conflicted thing happening. I don't know if they're gonna end the series with him killing himself, like he'll become a vampire, then he has to stake himself. I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen with that. It's so funny. They're all hilarious. Oh, and going back to when I was on set, well, I don't really need to say much more about that. It was just so much fun. It was an amazing experience. Everyone was wonderful on the set. And actually, pretty much every show I've done background on has been a really good experience. And, I wanted to say that I'd love to be in season three in background, but I don't even know if there will be background performers ever again once the pandemic's over. I mean, there will be one day, but I don't know what's going to happen with background performers and how they're going to be able to do that. I mean, certainly you could have a couple of people in background just on any show, I'm thinking, way back, but having been on all these shows, like the last show I did before lockdown, I was on Handmaid's Tale, and there was like 200 of us, and we're in this little room. Then we go out and do our walk-bys and all that. But and even then, we knew like the end of that week was when I went into lockdown, and I was terrified I probably caught something because there was someone coughing a lot in that room. And if you know anything about doing shows, you're in a room, like background people are in the same room all day long, and you're not really supposed to leave. You're supposed to be on standby for 12 hours or whatever. So you bring your books and do some work or whatever while you're waiting, or just yap to your friends. And then also, what happens is you're eating in the same room as the background, as the crew and sometimes the cast, sometimes not, come in and eat with you, and it's buffet style. So I was worried that there'd been this cast member, like a background performer on Handmaid's Tale, is coughing a lot and not covering her mouth. And then, we did have sanitizer and stuff because everyone was aware there was corona. But then her table was not far from where that buffet was being served. Anyways, I don't think anyone got sick. I didn't see that. So I digress greatly, but it's just all everything connecting, and it's so much fun. I love being a background performer, and I hope to do it some more. But what I would love even more is to be in the writer's room for What We Do in the Shadows. So if anyone from What We Do in the Shadows is watching this, please. I'm a horror writer. I have 25 published horror novels. This is my thing. I can do this. But it's so fun. It's so funny, and I definitely have to try and watch the movie and see how it connects or doesn't. I believe the original um, members were ones that came into one of the things in the last episode, and of course, when I was on set, the director and stuff, they're all the original people, right? And they were all just so wonderful and funny and kind and everything. It was just such a great, great thing. And then to have Mark Hamill in there with us, and not with me, I wasn't there for that one, but just so wonderful. I hope he's a recurring character, Jim the vampire. I hope they bring him back a few times. Right now it's left open, and I think he might come back next week because I keep seeing things about the Vampire Strikes Back, and Star Wars nerds know exactly. I think even people who aren't Star Wars nerds know the Empire Strikes Back. Um, so anyways, I just really wanted to come on and just babble on about What We Do in the Shadows and how exciting it was to be on that show, and how I am so happy how it's progressing. And like any comedy, some jokes hit, some jokes miss, but I'd say for the most part the jokes hit just fine for me. And like I said, that episode where Colin becomes king. Well, he's not. I shouldn't say that because he could literally become king in the way this show goes. But when he's promoted, it just uh, the energy vampire thing is just so funny. It's just so funny. I'm sorry. I know I'm just babbling and laughing, but that's what that show does to me. I just rewatched the Mark Hamill episode before I did this, just to get in the mood because I could. And it's just so funny. And I will say too, when I was on set, all the little touches, and you can really see it when you watch the episodes. And I have a big screen TV, so, because I love TV and I love to, see what's happening because I know how much work goes into this 'cause with all my years of theater experience, acting and then being a stage manager and props and everything. I've done everything in the theater and I know how carefully props people work. And when I was in the background for the bar, all the little touches of, uh, uh, you know, bottles and glasses and, things in cages and, I don't want to give away too much, but if you just look in the background, in their house when they're sitting there, I've never personally been in the house, but when you're watching it on TV, just all the, the paintings, just so much detail. The attention to detail is exquisite, which it should be in a gothic horror thing. And the acting is amazing. And, no, the vampires living together, they're all very different. So you don't have like two kind of the same, vampires. You got, like the married couple. And with Nadja, um, with her, I like how it, it's not really that she's overacting, but when you think of she's a female vampire in a house full of men vampires, and then she does like a lot of screechy kind of things, but you think, yeah, a vampire would be screechy and annoying and all that kind of stuff. And I like that how she does that, and how she's really the smartest one of the bunch, but she often can't show it. Just as in real life, women have to let men believe that they thought of it first kind of. I like those little touches. Again, the writers, you guys rock. So good, so good. I can't wait to watch the rest of the season. And like I said, I really hope there's a season three. And it's just amazing. If you have not watched What We Do in the Shadows, you're in quarantine. Go to on demand here in Canada. Both seasons are on FX on demand. You can go in there and watch them all. I'm not sure about other parts of the world, but here in Toronto, that's our reality. And if you want to sit and binge watch, you absolutely can. And I highly recommend it because it is funny. It'll take your mind off reality because there's nothing real going on here. It's just funny as hell. All right, so have a great day and stay safe, stay home, and watch lots of What We Do in the Shadows.